Right, dear viewers, be careful of what you wish for. As you are seeing on your screen, the great big Tata logo, this is MotorMatters doing something slightly different, slightly out of the normal. Not that we're not known for being run-of-the-mill. In fact, I would say it's probably quite the opposite. But even for us, this is something that's coming in like a shot out of the proverbial blue, because Alan has made me go off and do a truck review. A truck review. Here I am, respected motoring journalist, now doing reviews on trucks. Nonetheless, this is an interesting one because this is a brand new Tata. It is the Tata T9. And what this is it's what we call in South Africa a 4-tonner, although it actually has a payload of 5.6 tons. Quite a lot, actually. Powered, as it is, by a 3.3 litre common rail turbo diesel with intercooling. Sounds like it's going to be producing a lot of horsepower, which, as we know at MotorMatters, is something we love. But in this particular case, we're talking about a truck has a maximum speed of 105 kilometers an hour. Yep, 105. I'm sure that's governed, but there's no way to say it. It's 105. So this engine pushes out 155 horsepower, which translated into English comes down to around about 114 kilowatts, but it does come with 450 newton meters kicking in from 1400 revs up to about 2200 RPM. Of course, being a truck engine, maximum power is delivered at 2600 RPM, which should tell you that this is going to be a motor that's not going to be revved particularly hard in its life, and it is designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that's haul large loads around the countryside for all time. In other words, it's going to last quite a long time. That's what the truck is built for. And as you can see from the visuals, it's a truck. It's quite a big one, retailing for around about 400,000 Rand plus VAT. It's, if you think about it, quite a lot of vehicle for the money. Let's talk about the pricing here. Of course, this is now a vehicle that requires a code 10 license to drive. So it puts it out of the range of something like your Kia 2700s or your Hyundai H100s, those sort of industrial type large scale but working buckies. So it's not really a fair comparison. But your Kia 2700 starts at around about 410,000 Rand. So this thing is there or thereabouts in the zone, certainly with a much bigger payload. And if you look at it, at this kind of size and price, you could buy a Suzuki Swift 1.4 Turbo, the sport version, and you could probably pack, 3 or 4 of them into the back of this truck. And of course, just to remind you, the Suzuki Swift comes in at around about 466,000 Rand. Anyway, enough about loading small cars into the back of giant trucks. What do we actually have in this truck? What does it come with? And interesting enough, the brakes in front and rear are drums. Now, I did a little bit of homework on this as to why trucks would use drums as opposed to discs. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, as I wasn't at the time, the reason why we do that is very simply this. Drum brakes can actually generate a higher braking force with less expensive hydraulic systems. So over the long haul, they have superior durability and longer service intervals. And of course, the fact that on this particular T9, the brakes are assisted by air, they have air brakes in other words, it allows for very much more efficient braking than you and I can generate through hydraulics. So overall, in the cost of running a fleet, drum brakes actually work out to be the better choice. And that's why they're used. If we just get back to this motor, so obviously, if you're running a truck, one of the first things you want to figure out is your fuel economy. It's not really quoted because your fuel economy is going to depend to a very large extent on what you load your vehicle with. So it can vary anywhere from a couple of liters per 100 if you have an empty truck and driving it carefully at 80 k's an hour down a downhill, up to many liters per 100 if you load it up to the max and try to floor it at 105 up a 30-degree incline. So your fuel consumption figures are significantly variable, but what I can tell you is that this truck comes with a sensible sized 120 litre fuel tank, which means that your average range on the truck should be pretty good. If we look at the interior of the truck, I know that Tata claim it to be state-of-the-art, futuristic and what have you, and maybe for a truck it is. I just don't have that much experience with trucks, to be honest. But having a look on the inside here, I can tell you one thing for free and for absolute certain is I love that driver's seat. It's a thing of fantastic proportions. In fact, you know, if I had a car that could take one of these seats, I would fit it in a heartbeat. It's one of the seats that allows you to sit on it. It bounces up and down. It takes up all the shocks. And it's designed with only one thing in its absolute focus. And that is, of course, the driver's comfort. And having sat in it, I did not drive the truck because I do not have a code 10. But having sat in it and bounced around, I love it. I think it's one of those things that, as a truck driver, the importance of the seat and the comfort of the seat cannot be overemphasized. These vehicles are going to do millions of kilometers over their lifespan, and the poor person driving it, make them comfortable, because it's going to be better for you, better for the truck, and certainly a whole lot better for them. Driving around in the truck, immediately you notice that the visibility around this enormous beast, because it is big compared to what we're used to driving, it's massive. The views are incredible. You can see pretty much everywhere. There are obviously mirrors attached to the vehicle to avoid blind spots and driving over smaller vehicles such as like minis and things that you may not see purely because of the size of it. But it is amazing how much light and airiness there is inside this cabin. You also have parabolic leaf springs at the front, which also add to the comfort of this vehicle. And when one's driving around, one gets the sense that you could jump into it and do a 20-hour haul down to Cape Town, turn around and do another 20-hour haul back to Joburg without breaking a sweat, because the vehicle is comfortable. And I think that vehicle comfort is absolutely paramount when it comes to long haul driving and trucking, as this one is designed to do. So, where are you going to be using such a truck for? Well, basically anybody who needs to move anything from anywhere to anywhere. And a couple of ideas that Tata have thrown out there are fast-moving consumer goods, white goods, e-commerce, intracity logistics, agricultural commerce, and, interestingly enough, ambulance services. I think it would be quite an ambulance that you'd fit into the back of this truck. Just remind yourself about how big this thing is. In fact, the dimensions on it are not small. It's 7 meters long, 2.2 meters wide, and almost 2.5 meters high, coming with a gross vehicle mass of around about 9 tons. So we're not talking small. What's interesting about this vehicle is, I was just thinking about it, I think that when we talk about the supercars, the 911 turbos, the Aston Martins, the Ferraris of this world, I just wonder how many of those vehicles came about on the back of something like a Tata T9. In other words, these are the vehicles, the trucks that drive the businesses, that create the wealth, that allow the lucky owners, hard-working owners, let me restate, hard-working owners, the luxury of being able to buy the supercars and the high-end sports cars. So maybe there is a link, a direct link between the interests of this truck and the interests of the motoring enthusiast that drives sports cars in South Africa today. Just a thought.